G'day ladies and gents, and welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome to another Ground Forces battle. Yep, I'm getting my eye in anticipation for British tanks, and I'm starting off this time with Battle Rating 4 Germany. So we're starting off today with the... I can never pronounce the name of this thing. This is the Command Panzer IV. This is the Premium Panzer IV at Battle Rating 4. It has been down tiered to 4. It used to be, I think it was 4.7 at one point, and it was just a disappointment. At Battle Rating 4, it's actually a really good tank, although it has incredibly slow turret traverse. But it's almost like a mini heavy at Battle Rating 4. It plays really nice. Unfortunately, I didn't do particularly well in this tank. My initial plan was to lock down at this building and wait for the Allied tanks to move through the town and ambush them as they come through. Unfortunately, I let my need to help people get a little bit ahead of me. There are two tanks that have moved ahead. They've rushed ahead of the rest of the German forces and they've run straight into a Allied defensive line. And they're in a world of trouble at the moment, so I decided to try and advance up to help them, and wound up driving directly into the same defensive line that's currently got them pinned, and will kill them. Now, I tried to bury myself behind this building to take cover, but there's just too many tanks. There's actually 4 tanks in that gap there on the right hand side, if you can see them all. You can see 2 that are fired, there's 2 more, and there's 3 more tanks on the left, and I'm about to just get submerged in artillery fire. And this is why you don't rush advancing ground forces unless you've got an extremely fast, extremely small tank, or a tank with a hell of a lot of armour. Learn from my mistake here. If I back off from this building, I'm driving into at least 6 to 7 enemy guns. If I stay here, well, you'll see. So, on to the next machine, and I didn't choose the StuG Life chose me. This is the StuG III G, and I love this tank. I haven't actually played it enough to spade it. I got about halfway through it and then I just was turned off ground forces, and I stopped playing ground forces for about 4 months, and never came back to it. I've just bought it out. This was the first time driving it in all that time, and it has rekindled my love for this machine. Now, to be clear, this thing is not spaded. I'm about halfway down the performance mods for it. I don't have all the shells available. It's about half done. And yet, it does so well, even without all the upgrades. Now, as you're going to see, part of this was, I think, okay driving. I don't claim to be anywhere near as good a tanker as I am a pilot, and I don't claim to be the best pilot to begin with. So I think I did okay on the driving for the most part, but a big part of this was also the enemy team just not seeing exactly what was going on. I got incredibly lucky just ahead here. I actually spend most of my time just at this ridge line just ahead of me, or at least the next 4 or 5 minutes. This is where I'm going to be, and you'll see why. So I've just spotted movement through the fence to my right, and there we go, we've lost our first tank. Now, I haven't realised it just yet, but those tanks that were holding the ridge line that took me out a few moments ago, they've advanced down through the town and they're about to come in from my right hand side. I'm assuming the tanks on my right have actually got me covered, so I'm checking the ridge line and the tree line here, looking for movement in amongst the trees. I think I can see something there, but I'm not entirely sure. And that's when I see the tracer fire come in from the right hand side. Turn the tank through. What have we got? And we've got 2 or 3 tanks moving through. Just bounced off. I'm not going to sit here and take fire from 3 or 4 tanks, not when I've got a building that I can duck myself behind. Backing up, however, my teammates never saw it coming. They've been eliminated. I'm now the front line. So, backing off around the hill line, I'm trying to get a position on this hill to my left that's in the cap circle, so I can see just around the corner and see these tanks advance, so I can pop around and actually get them. I kept backing up for a little bit. I was sort of hoping they would advance enough, and then I sort of realised that it's going to take them time to advance through, and if they get that far through the town, they're going to be able to get me from multiple directions, so I have to pop them now. First shot through the front of a KV-1. Backing off while I complete my reload, pulling myself out of the line of fire. Bring myself back around, and this time I'm looking for a new target. And there is a Wolverine. I'll put the shot straight through the front of him. That takes his monster gun out of the battle. He could have easily one-shot the StuG if he had got a good line and a good aim. Back around, now I'm looking for that KV-1 again. Another shot through. KV-1 has now been removed. Back it off again while I reload. Check the corners. And there's no more tanks. Now, I know there was more than 2 tanks around that corner, so somebody is backed off, and I don't know where they've backed off to. But we can move up and around, and I can get shots down this street now. So carefully keeping the ridge line on my left. This tank has a massive weak spot on the left-hand side of the gun, so trying to keep it covered by the ridge line. And here comes the bombs. Look for the bomb icon, roll the tank forward. The bombs don't get me, but they detonate, crippling the StuG that we've got up on the hill. Now the StuG is also being engaged by multiple tanks. We have tanks rolling into the cap circle up on the ridge. I can't climb that ridge line safely at the moment, so I can't do anything to help him. I've got to keep his ass on this street covered. We've got a AAA gun down there. I put 1 shot straight through him for starters. And in comes our teammate in the Stuka, and he was bloody good. He did some great close air support work up here, taking out multiple enemy tanks on that cap circle, and clearing it so the StuG could get his repair done, get back up and get back into the fight, and start pushing the tanks out of the cap circle. And he does multiple bomb drops, and he never gets anything close. Unfortunately, he's not the only one dropping bombs on the zone, although thankfully those ones were a little out of the way. Unfortunately, I'm stuck in a repair at the moment. My driveline's been taken out. I can't move the StuG, so at the moment I am nothing more than a bunker. I have to sit here, and then that happens. That annoys the crap out of me, so I'm going to diverge off onto this. The repair was half complete, and then it just stopped. I had to reinitiate the repair, and once again I've got another 60 seconds, so I was here unable to move for 1.5 minutes. And this isn't a cheap crew. This crew is fully upgraded for tanks. This is my primary tank crew. Now, I'm not sure why that happens. I've heard it's a bug. I don't really care. 1.5 minutes on a fully upgraded tank crew, stationary, unable to get this thing even moving, is insane. Thankfully, while I may have been immobile, I wasn't useless. The enemy kept driving out in front of my guns. So, we've got another KV-1 here. Just waited for him to poke the corner of the turret up over the ridge. 1 shot straight in. And that's another KV-1 removed from the battle. Still 24 seconds waiting on the repair time, so all I can do at this point is hold and hope that the enemy keeps driving out in front of my guns. Now, I have spotted an enemy tank up on the cap circle to my left-hand side. Again, I can't do anything about it. If he rolls down, I'm dead. Thankfully, one of our allied teammates goes up around the back of the cap circle and cleans his clock, removing him from the battle and saving me without realizing he really saved me. Finally, the repair's complete, and immediately back this thing around the corner and get it out of the line of fire so I can work out what I need to do next. And thankfully the cap circle actually proceeds down this hill line, so I can park the tank on the edge here and start recapping our circle before we lose too many points and can't pull this battle back. I realised pretty quickly, however, I can't afford to stay here. This is an obvious position to recap the circle. It's going to get directed artillery fire on it, and I have no ability to actually defend the cap circle from the other side while I'm sitting here, so I need to get up into this circle. And as you can see, the enemy team is trying to bomb the hell out of this place as well. Thankfully, they're not quite as good as our StuG from earlier on was, otherwise I would already be dead. So the main artillery drop just went through. I'm going to roll straight up to these logs ahead and use them as cover. If I can bury the front armour and just stick the gun over these logs, I should be good for the moment. And there we go, we've got shots going on. Just move the tank and see if I can get a line up. He doesn't realise I'm here at the moment. Not even sure what he is. And it's a Sherman. Well, that's him disabled for the moment. Just wait for the reload. Line up again. Sherman out of the battle. Alright. Move up to the logs. And I'm looking for movement in the trees again. There's explosions going on, I can see gunfire, and just to the left-hand side I'm beginning to see movement through the trees. T-34. Now at this point the T-34 is going to back off, and I'm going to start blind shooting into the trees to see if I can find him. And no love. And then I spot him, he's moved ahead on the road, making himself easier to see. Unfortunately I just can't pen him from this angle. Wait for the reload. That looks good. Hit his drive wheel, hit his tracks, but not enough to disable him. He's still backing it up. I'm going to do some guesswork in the trees again. Hit exactly the same spot a second time. I need to lead further back. Next shell fired, and no connection. He's changed direction, he's moved in a different angle. I no longer know where he is in the trees. And I'm getting really low on shells at the moment here, so It looks like the left-hand side's covered. We've got one tank to my left, but we've got nobody to my right. So I want to move up to these logs so I can at least see over the top of them and see whether or not somebody's going to try and flank me through the town. But I need to cap this zone so I can start getting some shells back. I'm down to only 2 shells. And once again, we have another artillery barrage coming in. The guide shots land behind me, so I decided to roll the tank forward. I reckon it's probably aimed at that downslope where I had the tank parked before, so if I stay up here, I'm good. And we've got a AAA truck moving through the trees, so just carefully positioning myself, and I'm finally starting to get some ammo. One shot, take the AAA out. And, oop, no, the artillery was aimed at the house. Thankfully, no severe damage. Now, I need to stay in this cap circle. I can't go anywhere at the moment. I need the shells loading in. I am very thankful that Gaijin has increased the speed that the shells load in, and they now load individually, so you're not trapped in the cap circle, unable to move while you're getting a reload. And that T-34 is back again, so another shell into him. Looking down the same place I was getting in before, and this time we kill him. Straight through the driver's plate, inside the tank, remove him from the battle. And we've still got artillery coming down. If I had to make a guess, I would say he was the one who dropped that artillery. Still keeping a check on the right-hand side, because I've got nobody covering me there. Nobody is progressing through the town at all for the moment. Now, I have lost track of what aircraft are up, so I'm spinning the camera around to try and spot exactly what's floating around. I think we're actually surrounded by enemy aircraft at this point. So about 2 minutes later and a lot of nothing happening, we've skipped forward. I've now got a load of shells on board, so I'm happy to progress the tank into the battle zone. And we're getting hit by artillery again, so it's time to get this thing off the hill. I don't need to be here anymore. The enemy are no longer pushing this cap circle. They're now gone defensive on their own. It's time to push the attack. Now my plan is to push straight ahead into this tree line. The changes to the Dragor engine have kinda, sorta fixed the ultra low quality issues that ground forces had. Ultra low quality users now have less foliage on the trees, but at least the trees still seem to be there in most cases. There are still sections of the maps that haven't been fully updated, and it appears that there is no trees on ultra low quality, but there's sections of the map you very rarely fight in. The core areas near town, ultra low quality users will still see all these trees. They're just a little bit more bare bones, a little bit more simplistic. It seems to cover them, which is nice. So that means I can actually use these as cover, where previously an ultra low quality user would never have seen a forest here. They would have seen me coming through. So we've got another AAA truck out in the open. Line him up. One shot through. We'll remove him from the battle. Keep rolling ahead, and we have a Sherman that was holding defensive against the Panzer IV to our left-hand side. One shot straight through his front. Goodbye, Sherman. And he had absolutely no idea I was coming. So, time to roll into the town, and unfortunately at this point I was letting myself get a little bit cocky. The StuG isn't a tank that I should be leading a charge in. What you've already seen shows the StuG is an exceptional tank for holding a defensive position, and it's a great tank to push a line, but it shouldn't be leading the charge. I should have let the Panzer IVs move ahead, but instead I decided to roll down myself. I don't think there would be too many enemy tanks left. Looking ahead, I can see movement already. Can't spot anything on the binoculars, but I definitely saw movement up amongst the fence lines. So I'm still checking, because I'm 100% positive there's a tank ahead. Keep rolling up. Now I am still checking my corners as I roll through the town here. I'm not being entirely stupid. Thankfully the bomber misses again. That's about the 4th or 5th time I've been bombed so far. Every single time they missed. I think I need to do a video on exactly how to do close air support and how to dive bomb. And I take a hit from behind. Now, I don't want to turn the StuG around, at least not straight away. Well, I do want to engage what's behind me. The idea was to roll around the corner and then start turning the StuG. So I've got the tank around the corner, check my 6, and unfortunately it's a bloody locust. There's no way known I'm going to be able to turn around on this thing. So start reversing him back. The plan is to wedge him against those rocks and then turn the tank right on top of him. Unfortunately he takes out the engine and then sets me on fire, and at this point there's nothing I can do. With the disabled engine and him at this range, he's just going to keep putting shells in me until I'm dead. So I got myself killed. Overconfidence is my weakness. So the StuG life was wild and fun, but unfortunately it ended in my demise. So it's time for me to move in the Panzer IV G, and, oh, looky who we've got here. That Locust looks awfully familiar. Or at least it did look awfully familiar. I've got to be honest here, all I wanted to do at this point was bring out the ME410. I've got thousands of points to deploy that thing, and I ended up bringing out a tank. And the main reason was, well, I'm the only real tank left. We've got another StuG floating around at the moment, and there's a AAA floating around on our team. That's it. The enemy team has at least 4 live vehicles at the moment. One of them is a Catalina. We don't know what the rest are. So I decided to get sneaky and go around the river side and approach the cap circle from behind, because that'll let me bury my tank in the corner of this building. Straight away we see a first target. Just as I'm lining up on this Locust, however, fire the shot, it's already dead. The StuG got it just as I spotted it. Roll into the circle to secure, and there's movement to the left. We've got a Sherman hidden just around the ridgeline. One shot in the front, that hurt. And there's a kill assist. And at this point I just bury myself in this corner and get myself real comfy to actually cap this circle out. Now, as I said before, the enemy team does have one aircraft. It's a Catalina that's been flying around for ages. And I almost get myself killed here again. The Catalina made an approach from the riverside of the cap circle, and I tried to use the Panzer IV as a AAA gun. Unfortunately, that left this thing, which doesn't have any upgrades and is on a completely unskilled crew, with its gun pointing in the air, while this Stuart started chewing on my front armour. Thankfully, he didn't get through, and just watch the circle slowly lower to my final kill of the match. And at this point, we just sit in the cap circle until B is capped, and we win. So, that's the end of the match. Let's go through to the results. So as it turns out, the kill board can't display a number above 9. I took 11 kills, 2 assists, 2 cap circle captures, and only lost 2 tanks for this battle. First place for the team. Shout out to Jenkin Mandarin in second place with 10 kills. Fantastic game, mate. Now, I'm not even going to try and go through all the awards we got in this particular match. There was a lot of them. The only one of note was Heavy Metal Hero, the Ground Forces Epic Award. 53,760 silver lines and 8,135 research points. No bonuses besides the premium account. Got the engine on the StuG III, and I finally got the fire control equipment on the Panzer IV G. And for the first time in 4 months, I'm finally pouring some RP back into that Panther F. So, as I've said in the past, I don't claim to be the best tanker in the world, but I'm pretty happy with the results of that match, although there was a big chunk of that was really luck more than anything else. And I think I've just about got my eye in for the release of British tanks, and I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Drive smart, drive safe, and I'll catch you on the battlefield.